Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Father.
It's great to be here with you this evening. I first want to thank the Knights of Columbus for their support of vocations by having this dinner every year, and thank you very much for the invitation to come this evening and to speak to all of you. You know, it's interesting, one of the things that I do probably most frequently as a priest is share my vocation story. And interestingly enough, my vocation story is not one of those ones that you will hear of someone at 18 going off to college seminary and then immediately to major seminary. No, that wasn't my story at all. Actually, I was raised in Reed City. I'm a product of public schools because there wasn't a Catholic school in my hometown. It closed when I went to kindergarten. So I was put into public school. And all throughout public school, I did think about being a priest, as most Catholic boys do. When I was the age of being a server, I thought about being a priest. I thought it looked kind of cool. I thought the incense was interesting. It was smelly and fun. And, you know, I was short and I could still carry a candle, and I thought that was kind of cool. And the clothing wasn't too bad, I decided. But then as things happened in high school, I started looking at other opportunities for myself and decided that, like Herbie on Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, I wanted to be a dentist. And so I decided to go full bore into being the best dentist I could possibly be. So I immediately checked out what school should I go to. And I found out that Albion College had the best placement rate of dental students into University of Michigan Dental School than even U of M. So even though I was accepted at University of Michigan to go there as a student, I immediately switched to Albion College and went to Albion College to be a pre-dent major so that I could go to U of M Dental School. Well, nobody informed me that to be a dentist, you have to really like dealing with very fine detail. I thought it was just going in and yanking out teeth, but that's not the case. And they didn't tell me that you're going to have to love chemistry class. Love it. And interestingly enough, I loved the bookwork of chemistry class. I got an A in that portion of the class, but in lab, I was getting a C. And I was fighting for that C, because I could never get the little things I was supposed to pipette together to turn to the right color. Mine always turned purple when they were supposed to be green, or if they were supposed to be pink, mine was yellow. Well, after a semester of that, I decided something was going to have to give. And so the only other class I was taking at the time that I liked was psychology class. So I became a psych major. Became the most expensive psych major that's ever existed. Because Albion College was not a cheap place to go. It was a great place to go to college, but not a cheap place. Interestingly enough, though, it was a Methodist private school. It was a Methodist private school with more Catholics than Methodists there. In fact, 50% of the student body was Catholic. So we had our own priest assigned to the campus by the Diocese of Kalamazoo, and he was very active in getting the student body that are Catholics together and having retreats, and we were had liturgy committees, and you name it, everything was going, and campus ministry was great at the time. And I was very involved with the campus ministry. The fascinating thing is, as the years were going on, I was still very involved with my faith. I kept expressing an interest in my faith, but I kept being discouraged along the way about priesthood. I was discouraged because every time I ever said anything to another priest, they would always say, go to college, finish school, think about it later, you've got lots of time. And they would always put me off. In fact, that's exactly what happened in college. I remember going to the priest who was assigned at the campus and saying, you know, I really think that maybe I'm meant to be a priest. And he looked at me and said, well, that's great, but why don't you finish college and maybe even go to graduate school and get something to fall back on, just in case it doesn't work out for you. And I thought, doesn't he want me? Don't they want me? Interestingly enough, I discovered a few years after I left Albion that that priest left the priesthood. And I think he was giving his advice to me about how he was feeling at the time, not about where I was at the time. So interestingly enough, after Albion finished, I went off to graduate school because that's what I'd been told to do. And I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I now was in a complete quandary. I had no idea what to do with a psychology major. I didn't have an idea, so I fell into something. I fell into a graduate program, fully paid, at Bowling Green State University to be a college administrator. Hey, sounded good to me. I liked college, you know? And the possibility is I could be a frat boy the rest of my life, so to speak. So, I went off to graduate school. Well, what they gave me to do as work while I was a graduate student was they made me a freshman residence hall director. If you want to make any person pray, make them a freshman residence hall director. And that's exactly what began to happen. I began going to Mass a lot. I went to confession even more, by the way, because of the things I thought about my freshman. But I did learn a lot during those years. I learned a lot about ministry in many respects, even though I didn't call it ministry, but it was ministry. It was ministry to a student body, ministry to freshmen, and if there's anybody who needs ministry, it's freshmen. Let me tell you. Many of them are trying to find their way in the world, and they're making bad choices along that way sometimes. And so many of them would come to me saying, you know, after they had literally almost flunked out of first semester, and their parents had put them on probation, and the school put them on double secret probation, you know, what am I going to do with my life? And we would sit and have talks about what they needed to do, with their life. Well, after graduate school, I went off and worked 1 year as a college administrator. Guess what? I was still a freshman residence hall director. And that year, I said, either I go or they go. And so I started going to church every day. Went to church every day at a local parish, hi bud, where I had gotten involved. And all the little old ladies every day would watch me come into Mass. And they knew I had something to do with the college, university in town. But they really didn't say much to me, they just kept watching. And I was involved in the parish, got to know the priests really well, the parish community there. And every day when I would go to Mass, I would come early, I would pray a rosary, and at the end of the rosary I'd say, God, just tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. I don't know. I hate my life. I hate my job. I hate living out here on the East Coast. Well, I didn't really hate that, okay? But I didn't like living so far away from my parents. And I just wanted some guidance. Well, it became Holy Week, and I still didn't have an answer. Still didn't know what I was going to do. God hadn't answered me yet. At least I didn't think he had answered me yet. Even though the interesting part is, time and time again, the little old ladies at Mass, who now knew me very well, and thought that I would either make a perfect husband for their granddaughters, or I would make a lovely priest.